April 1945, Germany. In the hallway of a captured hotel-turned-aid station, wounded infantrymen lay on blankets while their voices rose through the stairwell. Some prayed. Some bit leather straps. One kept calling for his brother, though his brother was not there. In the manager's office, a locked cabinet held fresh morphine syrettes marked for emergency use. Captain Harold Brice had ordered the cabinet reserved for senior officers and priority personnel. When a medic begged for one dose for a private with a crushed leg, Brice said, "Pain is not fatal." Then General George S. Patton entered the hotel and heard the screams before anyone saluted. Before we get into what happened next, if you want more untold stories from World War II, hit that subscribe button. The hotel stood beside a blown bridge in a German market town. Its lobby had marble floors, cracked mirrors, and a chandelier hanging by one chain. By noon, every fancy room had become part of the war. The dining room held stretchers. The laundry room held bandages. The bar had been turned into a surgical table. The worst case in the hall was Private Samuel Greer. He was 21 from Tennessee and had been trapped when a German shell knocked a half-track into a wall. The vehicle crushed his lower leg before other soldiers could pull him free. The surgeon said Greer might live, but the leg was ruined, and the pain came in waves so strong that two men had to hold him down. Medic Corporal Eddie Nolan asked for morphine. Captain Brice refused. Brice was the medical supply officer attached to the temporary station. He had not operated on anyone that day. He had not crawled through the street to pull casualties out. He sat in the manager's office with clean cuffs, inventory sheets, and a key on a chain around his neck. Nolan stood in front of him with blood on both sleeves. "Sir, Greer needs pain relief now." Brice did not look up. "All narcotics are controlled. He's screaming himself hoarse. That is not a dosage category. His leg is crushed." "Is he conscious?" "Yes." "Then he can wait." Nolan stared at him. "There are syrettes in that cabinet." "Reserved." "For who?" "For priority patients." Nolan looked through the open office door. On a sofa nearby, a colonel with a broken wrist had already been given morphine. A major with a shoulder graze slept under a clean blanket. Greer screamed again from the hall. Brice closed the ledger. "Do not confuse noise with medical necessity." The sentence traveled through the lobby like a slap. Lieutenant Sarah Whitcomb, an Army nurse, came in next. She had been dressing wounds since dawn and had lost patience with polite language. "Captain, I need 2 doses, one for Greer, one for the burn case in the dining room." Brice touched the key on his chain. "Denied until reviewed." "Reviewed by whom?" "By me." "You are reviewing paper while men are begging to be unconscious." Brice's face hardened. "Lieutenant, you will remember your place." "My place is beside patients." "Then go stand there." Whitcomb did. She went back to Greer, knelt beside him, and told him to breathe with her. He tried. Every time he did, the broken leg made him shake like a man freezing in summer. Outside, Patton's Jeep stopped at the hotel because the bridge traffic had jammed. He stepped out already angry about the delay. Then he heard the sound from inside. Not one scream. Many. He entered the lobby so fast a captain dropped his clipboard. Patton looked over the blankets, the blood, the men waiting for surgery, and the nurses moving from one body to another. Greer screamed again. Patton turned to Whitcomb. "Why is that man not sedated?" She answered without hesitation. "Supply officer will not release morphine, sir." Patton's eyes moved to the manager's office. Brice came out with the ledger in his hand. "General, there is a misunderstanding." Patton pointed toward Greer. "That sound is not misunderstanding." Brice saluted. Sir, morphine stock is limited. I am preserving it for priority casualties. Patton looked at the sofa where the colonel with the broken wrist slept. Priority. Yes, sir. Patton walked to the office cabinet and tried the handle. Locked. Key. Brice hesitated. Sir, regulations require controlled issue. Patton held out his hand. The key came off Brice's chain slowly. Patton unlocked the cabinet. Inside were boxes of syrettes, bandages, plasma bottles, and a neat list of approved names. He read the list. Most were officers. Patton turned. Who wrote this? I did, sir. Where is Greer? Brice swallowed. Not yet entered. Why? His survival status was uncertain. Patton stared at him. So you saved morphine for men certain enough to outrank him. Brice said, Pain control must be managed carefully. Patton's voice went flat. Pain is being managed by his lungs. He called the surgeon. The surgeon entered, exhausted, hands still damp from washing. Can Greer receive morphine? Yes, sir. He should have had it already. The burn case? Yes, sir. Patton handed the key to Whitcomb. Give what the surgeon orders. Brice stepped forward. General, I must object if we exhaust supply. Patton cut him off. You exhausted my patience. Whitcomb moved at once. Nolan followed with a tray. Greer received the dose first. It did not heal the leg. It did not erase what had happened. But within minutes, his grip loosened on the leather strap, and his voice faded into broken breathing. The burn case received the next dose. Then a man with a shattered hip. Then another whose belly wound made every touch torture. Patton stood in the hallway and watched. Then he called Brice over. You said pain is not fatal. Brice looked at the floor. Stand here. Brice stood beside Greer's blanket. Patton pointed to the hall. You will go patient by patient with the nurse and surgeon. You will write every name, injury, dose, and time. No off-for line. No private line. Medical need only. Brice nodded quickly. Yes, sir. Patton leaned closer. And you will do it where you can hear them. For the next hour, Brice followed Whitcomb from blanket to blanket. He wrote names with shaking fingers. He saw men he had reduced to categories. He heard the sounds he had called noise. When one wounded corporal grabbed his sleeve and begged not to be touched, Brice could not look away. Patton did not beat him. He did not shout for the room to enjoy. The punishment was to make him stand inside the suffering his paperwork had hidden. By evening, the cabinet was reorganized. The surgeon controlled morphine release. A nurse witnessed every dose. Officers and enlisted men went on the same list, by condition, not rank. Brice was relieved from Medical Supply Authority before midnight. The review later found that he had withheld medication without medical basis and created an unauthorized priority system favoring officers. He was sent to a rear depot pending discipline. Greer lost his leg above the knee, but he lived. Weeks later, he told Nolan he remembered only two things clearly: the pain before the morphine and the silence after it finally reached him. To a wounded man, mercy can be as simple as someone unlocking a cabinet. Whitcomb kept the key until a proper lockbox arrived. She wore it under her collar, not as a trophy, but as a reminder that supplies are useless when courage is missing from the person guarding them. The story was not only about morphine. It was about the cruelty of clean hands in a dirty room. Brice believed rank could decide whose pain mattered first. Patton forced the truth into the open. Pain does not salute, and mercy should not check insignia before it moves. Was Patton right to make Captain Brice count every suffering man before removing him, or should Brice have been arrested the moment the cabinet was opened? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe for more untold stories from World War II.